Welcome to the no, is it the seventh episode? It is the seventh episode of the Independent Artists Unite song
Wow.
series. Yeah, and
Lucky number
Scott,
seven, huh?
Scott Baker Graham tonight. I'm so psyched. Last minute, he said he could do this. David from Chronic Dream coming from LA, right?
Uh, Tactically Orange County, Huntington
Oh, Orange
Beach
County.
area.
Okay, all right, but it's sunny.
Yes, sunny and hot. Yeah, it's nothing new for here. So
I've been complaining about Denmark. We've had, I mean, all this month we have had rain and wind. I mean, the last 2 days it's been like cartoonish gale wind. It's like if you
yeah,
just go. I just went a block to the supermarket, and on the way there the sun was out, and on the way home it was a wall of water, torrential downpour. So we've been really suffering over here, but yeah, man, I'm so glad you could do this today. And we're gonna talk about your song. Is it Belle or Bella? Bella.
it's Belle. Yeah,
Belle. Okay.
like yeah.
Belle. Yeah, the instrumental, which I totally love. Um
I
and
appreciate that.
Yeah, and also I just want to say, man, that it's been so cool how you've reached out to me over Instagram, and it's like it's so weird, these like relationships that develop over the internet is like you instantly know when someone is like one of your peeps, you know what I mean? And it's just
Right, right.
it's like I don't know how, but the humanity, just like shines through. And I really had that with you. So I'm like I'm really psyched to be face to face with you and able to
Right.
connect like this because it's super cool. And
No, I agree. I love it. I love meeting. I because I was out of music for a good long while, probably about 20 years, 15, 20 years.
Oh, really?
Um,
Yeah,
yeah, from
same with
about
me.
2002 to about 2020,
Okay.
2021. Uh, and so when I came back, there's social media, and I didn't have all that stuff when I was
Wow.
in Scarlet.
Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah, yeah.
meeting all these people, like meeting you and Jimmy and all these people, it's just like it's amazing the connections.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And yeah, and Jimmy B from Tokyo Teens. I call him like the mayor of this community, He's like
Yeah,
he's connected me with so many people, and of course I will support him to the day I die, because he's such a warm-hearted, big-hearted person, and which just shines
absolutely.
through too with him, even though I've never met him face to face. But so if people aren't familiar with you, tell them a little bit about your history, because the band you mentioned, Scarlet, you were full on goth.
Yes, I got my first keyboard in 1992, and that's I immediately started composing music. Started like a band with the bass player for Scarlet first, actually. Me and him did like a little thing together. It didn't work out, but so I started Scarlet in 1993,
Mm,
and by then I was full on into the whole goth scene, and I I just loved it. It
mm.
really gave me purpose. And when I started Scarlet, I had met the singer Hillary. He and I met, and um, I immediately thought of Matt, the bass player. I said, okay, I got to get him back into this. And then over time, we just kind of pieced all the rest of the bandmates together, and we played a lot of clubs in L.A. and Hollywood, the Troubadour and the Showcase and
Mm.
Corona and the Whiskey, all of them. And I don't know how it happened, but we ended up touring with Eva O. Um,
Wow.
and some of the bandmates actually ended up playing as her backup band. Was it not me? I just did keyboards and
Hmm.
occasional guitar. But that was fun. And then we ended up playing with Ross Williams and during his one of his live shows at the Variety Arts Center in LA. So
Wow.
it was just not too long before he passed away, a couple years before, I think.
Yeah.
So that was a very fun show, very interesting. Got to meet him, and he was great. So that's After that, uh, I ended up moving on to Electronic Nights, which is on Instagram as well. But it was just a one-time project with my cousin doing
Okay.
vocals, and I did all the music, and he did the vocals. And that was just an EP. And basically, it was not too long after that that I ended up dropping out of music until recently. So that music is a lot more like Erasure, Depeche Mode, along those lines. It's less
Okay.
gothic.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. That's so interesting because I dropped out for almost the exact same time period. So maybe
Oh,
there's
really?
maybe there's some communication going on between with our auras or something. Yeah, because
Yeah.
I was well, you know, the problem with me back in those days is I would say you know like I couldn't say that I was goth or that I was industrial or that I was rock or that I was, you know, electro rock. I think that was part of the problem. I think
Right.
I was in many different bands where you just kind of scratched your head and been like, what the fuck is that? I don't know. They're all over the
Yeah.
place.
Yeah.
We could like, yeah, yeah. And very desperate for fame and and actually we came out to LA in 2000 and we hooked up with Jack Douglas, the producer Jack Douglas. He
Right. Right.
produced yeah, I mean Aerosmith, my New York Dolls, Patti Smith, Cheap Trick, Lou Reed, um, all these people. Of course, John Lennon's Imagine. That was what freaked me out. If suddenly we're
Right. Yeah.
sitting across the boardroom table and he's telling me he thinks he thinks I'm a good singer and songwriter. I'm like, Jesus, right. But anyway, but also
Yeah.
he was sober and he could smell he could smell a drug addict a mile away. But yeah, so I that blew up. Everything blew up, and that was why I stopped. I was really like brokenhearted. I became a heroin addict, for years, and I
Wow.
just couldn't. I didn't write a note of music from like 2000 to 2019, almost the same uh, uh, period of time. And it's like it's weird when you spend that time away, then you wonder how you're ever going to get back, right?
It's very difficult to get back into music. Yeah. I had a hard time composing music. I'm like, how did I do this again?
Yeah,
Yeah, it's
yeah.
very hard.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but it's like, but a part of you misses it at the same time, right? But it's like,
Yeah.
and both sides keep getting worse and worse. You miss it more and more, and you feel more and more paralyzed.
Right.
It's not a good
Exactly.
situation. It's not a good situation.
No, it's not. I never recommend if anybody's a musician, I would never recommend stopping and coming back to it. It's so difficult. What's funny is that one of my old friends, I haven't spoken to in a long time, but Tom Maxwell, he had the same issue. We started talking. Was it back in '96 or '97?
Mm,
And Tom Maxwell, a lot of people probably won't know who he is, but he was one of the singers in the Squirrel Nut Zippers.
mm,
He the song "Hell" from the Squirrel Nut Zippers, which was a big hit back then. Um, he wrote that song singing, and he ended up leaving the band.
mm,
And his issues with his band were pretty much the same as mine. That's how we connected.
mm.
And so he had the same issue. He ended up getting out of music because of his son. His son got leukemia, and
Oh,
so he was out of music for a decade or whatever. He said the same thing. He said, I would not recommend if you're out of music. He said it's so hard to get back into it.
mm.
So yeah, it was hard for me. I mean, I don't even have a keyboard anymore. All my music is done on my iPad.
I know, I know.
Using a Logic now. I was using GarageBand, but
Yeah, I was that's what saved me was GarageBand, getting back into it again because I had I had one of these numbers, in the back of the Village Voice in New York City back in the day.
right.
There were numbers you call, will like they'll buy everything.
Right.
they're showing up to like a drug addict's house. And yeah, what do you
Yeah.
got? What do you got? I'll buy everything. So I had a fucking I don't even forget what that bass cabinet was. I forget the names of bass cabinets. Ampeg maybe it was, but it was one of these ones that like come up to your chest, the
Right.
bass. And then I had a GK Kruger a bass head. I had a Flying V, red Flying V Gibson. I had a 12-string Martin 12-string guitar. I had a black Les Paul
Oh,
Special. I had tons of wires, tons of and guitar pedals. I probably had like 15 guitar pedals. It was a crazy
oh boy.
setup that I had. And yeah, he came up. He gave me, I think he gave me $2,000 for that, and in 4 days it was gone.
Oh, it's heartbreaking just to hear it.
Yeah. And so yeah, I mean, I was heartbroken in so many different ways, but GarageBand is how I was like, well, I can do this. I had 3 small kids too, and then I was like, maybe everyone's on their phone. Why don't I just try this?
Yeah,
and
might as well, yeah.
and that enabled me to start making music again. And then my friend, I still wouldn't have done it, but I don't know. I'm curious to hear what happened to you, because with me, it was a friend of mine said, "Look, you got to start releasing this stuff. You can't just keep it, to yourself." So that's what got me going. But how did you get going?
Uh, my daughter, actually.
Oh, that's beautiful.
I, my wife and we had our first daughter, our first child, and I was like, you know what, I ended up leaving my job for my daughter, so kind of like a stay-at-home father.
Mm,
And I just realized, you know what, I really, if I can help it, I really don't want to have stock shelves or stuff like that for the rest of my life. I'm not getting younger.
mm,
So my wife supported me in that. And I got the iPad, and I just said, you know what? They have virtual keyboards on there. I know that. So
mm,
I love Korg, and Korg has plenty of them.
mm,
So that's what got me started, and uh, I started writing music. And luckily, I am friends with Edward Culver, and he gave me my first album cover. And for those who aren't familiar with him, he's punk rock photographer. He photographed a lot of the old punk bands
mm.
and all other bands as well. Like he photographed REM, Echo and the Bunnymen, all of them. And he actually did one of Aerosmith's album covers. It's
Mm.
a little like a little like model he did of like a little face, and it was on one of their albums. And so he was gracious enough to give me my first album cover, and he had some stuff that came up, and so he wasn't able to do my second album, but he did the single for Belle for my new song. That
Mm.
was his cover as well. He gave me that, and that's really kind of helped give me an extra boost. It's like, okay, this is a
Mm.
great photographer. I got what I need,
Yeah.
and I got surprisingly, I was able to get back into writing music easier than I thought. The first album, if you listen to it, it's very rough. It's not, the mixing isn't good because I'm half deaf in one ear,
Mm.
so I can't really mix very well to begin with. So,
I'm
so.
less than half, but not so good. Not so good. Yeah.
It's from my days in Scarlet because my amp was I was set up right next to Kenton, my guitarist, and so he always blared his guitar. So I'm like half deaf from this year from his guitar amp,
Yeah.
and him and I joke about that still sometimes. But
Mm.
yeah, so that's how I got back into composing music was because of my daughter, and it's something I missed. I haven't done it in so long. I didn't miss the touring so much. I can go without playing live if I have to play live, I can do it. But I prefer just to.
Mm.
I really wanted to compose music for film. That was my because film was my other love.
Yeah.
So I was hoping my music could be used, for like for a movie scene or whatever.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. Yeah.
it's a lot harder than I expected. So
Mm.
yeah, so
Yeah, and you said and you were actually like composing films. I mean, you were composing music for like film students and stuff, right?
Right, yeah,
At
I
one
did
point,
that. That
or
was
you
after electronic nights. I actually
okay.
because that was just a one time off. I love my cousin, but he wasn't reliable in the
Mm,
sense of he sometimes disappears for a little while and he'll come back. So it just ended up being a one time thing. And I went to Chapman University in the city of Orange, which is, they have like one of the biggest film colleges,
mm,
and I volunteered my services to some film students. Me and a friend of mine as well. He was also a film composer. Um, and we did music for film students for about 2 or 3 years. And then when I left music, it was because my grandmother passed away, so I ended up leaving. And just
mm,
between between it was this one thing after another that
mm,
led to me leaving music.
yeah.
It was first when Ross Williams passed away, and then my bass player, who I wasn't very close to, but he ended up going out the same way that Ross Williams did.
Mm,
And between those two, and then my grandmother passing, I was just like, I need to step back for a
mm,
while, just take a
yeah,
break.
yeah,
And
yeah,
yeah, so then alcohol didn't help either. I turned to that for a while.
yeah, 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 yeah,
my
yeah.
my devil was alcohol.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I was the same thing, it's like, let me treat my depression with a major depressant.
yeah, exactly.
That should work out.
That'll make me feel a lot better. Yeah, yeah.
So, so talk about specifically Belle. What was the creative process surrounding that, and where does the name come from, and to walk us through that a little bit.
I yeah, that song actually I started it on early. I started on that actually around the time of my first album.
Hmm.
And I couldn't figure out where to go with it. I had the main what you hear at the beginning. I have the main melody for it, but I was like, okay, this is great, but I just couldn't figure out where to go with it at all. And so I kind of kept setting it aside, um and there was one day where I was just holding my daughter, and my daughter's name is Annabelle. Um, and that's where I just decided, you know what, I'm gonna try to finish this song, and because it's I feel like this song could be really great. And I said, I'm gonna put it to myself. I was thinking, I'll finish this for my daughter. I'll finish this. This is why I started the whole thing, and that's when it clicked on me. The sound of it at the beginning sounds like a lullaby almost, and I just said
Yeah.
this would be great for my daughter, and so I named it after her.
Oh, her name is
I
Belle. Oh, that's beautiful. Yeah.
yeah, it's her full name is Annabelle, and I just thought that the Belle sounds better. It looks better, so I put that on as the single for it. So it's named after her.
Oh, that's
And it
beautiful.
somehow that actually helped me to finish the song. So and I finished it. It took me about 2 to 3 weeks to finish it, and then the hardest part was the mixing. And I actually got help from Kenton, my friend and my former bandmate from Scarlet. He helped me finish that
Oh,
with the
nice. So
mixing.
that's a nice little healing a moment too, then. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, we have been talking about collaborating ourselves for a while now, and I just said, hey, you know what? I am having a hard time mixing this song, and it means a lot to me. And he really kind of worked me through the process of mixing it and helping me get that finished. And so I owe a lot of thanks to him for helping me, get that sounding right. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
It's well, it's a beautiful piece of music, and it's yeah, I see what you're saying. It does have this lullaby part. I don't know if it's just me, my ears always hearing some kind of melancholy, but I also hear I know when I posted it, I said treat yourself to this melancholy, beautiful melancholy piece of work. Because
Yeah,
I hear sadness in there too, but maybe it's
yeah,
just maybe it's more melancholy and joy coexisting in there, it's
yeah.
which is I've got three kids of my own, so it's like, yeah, it's not all joy. It's also hard, and of course the first time they're hurt, or their feelings get hurt,
Oh, I know. There is some definitely her sadness in there because there's times where I question. It's like I feel so sad for her having to grow up in this world. You know what I mean? It's like
Oh,
there's that going on in my head as well.
mm.
So there's definitely sadness in it. Plus, I tend to lean towards the darker side of things
Oh, me
naturally.
too. Oh,
Yeah,
me too. Me too. I always joke because it's like if I sit down to write a song, it's gonna be a slow, melancholy song. It's just
right,
like
right.
I always say that I have to like trick myself into writing something faster.
Yeah, it's very hard to write an
Yeah.
upbeat song.
And even then I think, oh yeah, I mean like something like Young Lovers or something, this latest single put out is like it's so upbeat, but oh God, there is something sad in there somewhere,
Yeah, I was gonna say, I, it's a great song. It's just like, why do I feel sad listening to it?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, so I'm with you there, brother. I'm with you there.
your song actually reminds to me, it's reminiscent of something like Depeche Mode did, where their
Oh, yeah.
songs can be very upbeat but have a sadness to them at the same time.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I'm a huge fan of theirs, of course. Yeah.
Right.
They are, I mean, they really are incredible. My God.
Yeah. I
And
mean,
this latest album, and at 60 years old, for them to just really be putting out stuff where you're just like, oh fuck yeah, you know,
yeah,
that actually
I
is
agree.
really good.
Yeah,
It's pretty amazing. And the size of this tour they're doing, it's insane that
it's
they
really
that they
it
that they
blows my
hold
mind.
that they can hold up like that.
The
But I
bands
know,
that
no, go ahead,
well,
sorry.
no, just the bands from the 80s that we grew up listening to, like The Cure, Depeche Mode. It's amazing how they are still playing like stadiums and just arenas, and
Yeah,
I'm just blown away by that.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, but I was just gonna say, I know Dave Gahan without busting his situation. I know he's gotten healthy,
Right,
and
right.
he's very like, well, I don't know. A lot of LA people say, "Oh yeah, I saw Dave Gahan at the gym today." So I know he goes to the gym a lot. He's living a very healthy life, because touring like that, my God, that's no joke.
Yeah, I know. I I have to say though, I kind of wish they'd bring Alan Wilder back. I feel like
Yeah,
Alan Wilder added a lot to the band
yeah,
that something they've been missing for quite a few years.
yeah.
This is my personal opinion. A lot of people disagree,
Yeah.
but
No, I feel the same way. I feel like it's kind of a one-trick pony now that they are doing, and I feel like he added some depth and some different ideas.
right, right, absolutely. Um,
But about your keyboard parts, they're quite melodic and quite beautiful, and like that melancholy thing. But too, it's you keep things quite simple. I'm a huge fan of that. I'm instantly drawn to like simpler things, rather than to like Elton John. I will use all 10 fingers on this
yeah,
chord.
true. I mean, let's be honest. I mean, part of it's due to the fact that I'm playing on a virtual keyboard, so it's not as and the keys are
Wow,
smaller, so
yeah.
you're like, yeah,
Yeah, but you could do 10 tracks of it.
that's true.
Keep
Yeah.
stacking them up. But who are your influences with your keyboard playing?
Uh, boy, let me think about that for a second. Um, well, for sure, one of them was Roger O'Donnell, the keyboardist
From
from
the
The
Cure?
Cure.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, because I grew up listening. I was a big Cure fan, and you too. Um, U2 I grew up listening to as well. They were the
Mm.
kind of the first ones I got into, but there's no keyboards in them. But I have to say, in relation to U2, is Brian Eno. Uh,
Mm.
Brian Eno was a huge influence on me as well.
Yeah, yeah, me too. Yeah.
Uh, um, but yeah, just mainly those two. I from when I was in like grade school, so believe it or not, I grew up listening to a lot of classical music, Bach, uh, some Mozart, stuff like that. So that that had a lot of influence on me as well as far as my keyboard playing goes. Uh, so I listened to a lot of that. That kind of guided me in the direction. My mother forced me to take piano lessons, which I'm thankful now. At the time, I hated it.
Thanks, Mom.
Yeah, exactly. Um, but I have to say, I say though, what kind of drew me to like, okay, I'm going to take up keyboards for a band would probably be Roger O'Donnell from The Cure,
Yeah.
or um, Lawrence Torres, the original key, like the guy who played drums originally
Oh
and was
yeah.
switched to keyboards. He actually was probably more because Roger wasn't in the band at the beginning, so
Mm.
probably to say him as well.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
They both kind of influenced me, just the Cure in general, probably.
yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah, so good. And they're out there doing it too every night now. Amazing.
Oh,
Yeah.
I know, and I know. I don't know if you know that Lowell Torres and Budgie, the drummer from Susie and the Banshees, have a project going.
Oh,
They're
really?
doing music. Yeah, they're doing music again.
Oh, nice.
I I only found that out because I I saw that I saw pictures of them like professionally, and I'm like, that's
Hmm.
strange because I know they have a podcast, Budgie
Oh,
and
okay.
Lolt,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
called Curious Creatures, and
Oh, nice.
so yeah, so so I was listening to them, and I noticed that Lawrence started following my Scarlet page,
Oh,
and I
really?
was like, yeah, I was shocked by that. I'm
Cool.
like, why is he following me? And the only thing I could relate it to was the fact that Edward Culver is following me on my Scarlet page, and he does photographs as well too. So
Okay. All right. That's
I'm
cool.
assuming that's probably yeah. Um,
And I mean, some of your songs have like a lot of streams, man. I mean, tell me how you do that, man. I want to know.
uh, well, some of them, not all of them, but some of them were. Um, I paid for promotions, but the problem with that was that I think probably a third of them were bots,
Hmm.
because Spotify refused to pay me for it, all those streams.
Oh, shit. Oh,
Yeah, so I got like that's the only thing I could come to because I saw that I had all those streams and I paid for ads and promotions, and then I got $30
oh, shit.
from all my streams. I'm like, and I contacted Spotify and they're like, sorry, we're not paying you for those because they're not done legitimately, or they said that they were like bots or something went out. I have my final EP that's going to come out in
Oh,
October
for
2nd.
Chronic Dream. Okay. All
Yeah,
right, cool.
not final, but
Yeah.
probably for a
For
few
the time being,
years.
yeah. All right. Well,
Yeah.
will you come on the show again then and talk about that?
Oh, absolutely.
But we'll keep in touch over Instagram, of course. And yeah, man, I love your music. I mean, I actually had Belle on infinite repeat, when I was going to a client's one day riding through Copenhagen, and then this vocal part came to me, and I was like almost gonna send you the vocal part to it, but I was like, that is so, that is so not right to say this beautiful instrumental, and for me to step forward and say, and I've got a vocal for but it's I hope
I-
you see it as a compliment because it was like it
oh
was
yeah.
really inspiring me. It was inspiring me to and it just kind of bubbled up as a similar as what I do with my own music. I always have the music first and I ride or walk around and then something just bubbles up, so your music was doing that for me as well. So I find it very inspiring.
I know. I appreciate it. I love it. I mean, I there's a lot of songs I have actually that I wish I could get vocals to, but it just never happened. But yeah, I see it as a compliment for sure. I mean, I don't get very many compliments for my music. I don't get people. I mean, if you look at my page, my Instagram account, just hardly any comments. um, so it's a weird situation with Instagram because it's like I get have a lot of followers, but I'm lucky if I get 5 likes on a video. You know what I mean? So it's like that's strange, but so
Yeah.
I appreciate it. Any
Well, I
compliments
think
I get, I love it.
I mean, I think collaborations really help with that. It's like then you're feeding off each other and you're tagging each other and stuff like that.
Right.
So I think you'll see some more action, especially when you got someone like Jimmy B from Tokyo Teens, is not afraid to get on Instagram Live and preach,
Right. No,
which I love, which I love.
I love that. Yeah.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
My
But
just I wanted to say something real quick too.
oh yeah,
I don't my new EP that I'm going to be releasing.
yeah,
I don't know how well it's going to do. It's very it's going to be shorter than most of the stuff I've done, but it's also could be a lot darker. I went through a whole when I was creating the music. I was kind of in my goth mode, I guess you say,
yeah.
where a lot of the music is very gothic, very dark sounding.
Mm.
Um, so I don't know how compared to the rest of my music. I don't know if it's gonna get received as well. So we'll see.
Well, I
But
mean, do you do the, because I just learned about this and I know a lot of people know about it already about these hubs and stuff where you can submit to playlists like daily playlists and Groover and things like that.
uh, yeah, I haven't tried that yet.
Yeah, because it
I
it
haven't.
it, it works, man. I mean, I've been doing it just for the past 2 weeks. And
Mhm.
I know with daily playlists you can actually James from Pain in the Ass told me about it. They give you 20 submissions every 5 days for free, and then if you want to pay more, you can. And whenever I see something like that, I think, oh, you don't get on a playlist unless you give him money. But
Right,
he sets his calendar to it, and every 5 days he submits music. And now I think I've been accepted on five playlists through that, and I can see that it's
huh.
working. With my streaming numbers. Certainly with Young Lovers. I've never had this many streams. I'm
Right,
I'm really like pleased with like doing that. But the thing is, you also you of course submit it by genre, and the
right,
goth genre is just so. I think it's great that it's really goth because that's such an airtight genre. You know what I mean? Then
right,
it's going to the right people. Where even with me, like synth pop, is what I'm going for, and it's like, nah, like you said, it could be anywhere from anyone from Erasure to Japan or something really dark and weird
right.
like that.
Yeah,
So there's
yeah,
a big thing there, but I feel like the goths too. There's such a huge community out there, man. They're out there. They
yeah.
want it, David.
Oh, I know. I appreciate that. Yeah, I'm surprised at how it's still going after all these years. I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah. And you know what I love about them too? They don't care if if someone's 70 years old coming out stage in their black leather pants and
yeah.
their goth makeup. They don't care. They show up anyway. They're just like, fuck yeah, you know.
Well,
I love it.
did you see Bauhaus at the Cruel World Festival?
No, 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 I didn't. I didn't
Peter
see it.
Murphy,
I mean, I
he
saw
looked
footage of
amazing.
it. I saw footage of it, and
Right.
he sounded amazing.
They just it's like they actually it's almost like a Johnny Cash. It's like with age, it's like they're
Yeah.
like fine wine. They've gotten better.
Well, I know he had a heart attack too,
Right.
which I had a heart attack too. I don't know if you know that. So that was
I
a
heard
big
that.
a big thing about me, changing a lot of things in my life. And I was really hoping that he stopped smoking, because he's been smoking all these years. And I saw when they did their shows in Mexico, it was a bit before that Cruel World Festival. There was a picture of him getting out of the limousine and he was smoking. I was like, dude, this is after his heart attack. I was like, dude, come on. I mean,
Was it a cigarette or was it one of those
no, it was a cigarette.
vapor?
No, it was a
Oh,
cigarette. Yeah,
jeez.
I was bummed. But maybe, it was what it sounded like to me in Cruel World Festival was that it sounded like a guy who had quit smoking. I haven't heard his vocals be that kind of have a certain elasticity. He wasn't dodging some of the high notes that he sings in bows. Of course, he sings very low, but he also often sings high too. It's actually quite a range, even though you think about him as this very deep voice singer.
Yeah, I felt the same way about Ian McCulloch from Echo and the Bunnymen.
Hmm,
I felt like smoking really ruined his voice. He
hmm,
can't hit the high notes anymore. So I'm
yeah,
hoping that he quits if he hasn't already, because
yeah,
he had a phenomenal voice.
yeah. And
Um,
of course, David Bowie too. It's like I was telling Jimmy, I think of David Bowie as having like three different voices, and it's like as smoking made it worse and worse, his voice just
yeah,
got lower, and he still did interesting things with it, but of course he couldn't sing, that high upper register like he did as a young man. But
yeah.
dude, let me get back to your daughter there, and thank you for
Okay.
juggling and finishing the interview.
Yeah. No, I
As super
appreciate
dad.
this. This is actually good fun. I actually, I enjoy talking to you. I don't do interviews a lot because I just
Yeah, you
either
said
don't
that,
have
man.
time
But
or
I said, I promise you, we're gonna have fun. Did we have fun?
oh, I loved it. It was great.